What is up, everybody? It is Owen Shapiro back from OSHAP Podcasts, OSHAP and OSHAP Movies. So, today we got a Q&A, and this is going to be mad hype, mad fire. So my first question is, who is the best director of the 21st century? So my best director of the 21st century is M. Night Shyamalan. I think if you look back, he has made the most classics. I think he's made the best films. I think his films are written the best. And not only that, while I think Christopher Nolan is the best director ever and the best director of this era, I do believe M. Night Shyamalan is the best director of the 21st century. I mean, just think about it. Look at his movies. Tell me how well written they are. And you tell me, do they make sense or not? I think they make sense the most. And we're going to get into my best movie and favorite movie later on. So, best football team. So, personally, I believe the Bengals will win the Super Bowl in 2025, as we talked about. My favorite team is the Patriots. New England Patriots has always been them. My dad's a season ticket holder for the Patriots since 2000, and he's been a Patriots fan his entire life, and I'm a huge Patriots fan, just like that. But the best football team right now, I think, is the Bengals. I think the Bengals will win the Super Bowl. I think they'll beat the Rams. I think they'll beat the Chiefs. I think they'll beat the Bills. But do I think they have the best overall roster? Probably not. I'd say probably the Dolphins, but the Dolphins, I feel like they keep ruining their chances. I mean, I think they could do better, but I think the Bengals will win the Super Bowl. Like I said, the Patriots are my favorite football team. I was there. I witnessed Brady versus Manning. I saw it live at Gillette Stadium, and it was just an incredible memory. We won. I remember the AFC championships. I went to other games. It was just a great time. I do believe, though, that Joe Burrow will be the MVP of the Super Bowl. That's really what I believe. But I think the MVP of the NFL this season, 2025, coming up, will be Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts has reached his prime. I think he's reached his top. And I think that, all these top quarterbacks like Brady, Manning, others, they really love Jalen Hurts, and they've been helping him out. And I personally believe he has a great attitude. I think that he's going to be at his best, and I think he's going to do better and better, and I think he's winning NFL MVP 2025. The best movie is The Shawshank Redemption. It is The Shawshank Redemption. I think it's the greatest classic. I think it's incredibly written as more than other films. I think Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump are good too from that year, but I do think Shawshank is the best. I think it hits on so many different themes correctly. I think how could you make a better film? I mean, the character development, the storyline, the way they set up the film, it's similar to how the same director who produced The Walking Dead, he set it up where you believe in characters even if you don't like them or trust them, or the Green Mile. I believe The Shawshank Redemption is the best movie. My favorite movie is Whiplash. Even though I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan, Damien Chazelle is one of my favorite directors too, and I believe Whiplash. I also like La La Land and Babylon. I saw Babylon in theaters. What an experience. That ending, that music. But I think all the endings for his films are incredible. First Man is good too. But my favorite movie is Whiplash, and I've seen it so many different times. It never gets old. I think the way he set it up, I know someone who actually had Damien Chazelle's real drum teacher as their drum teacher. Well, it was actually his brother, but he thought he was look, the person thought that the teacher was nice, but I still love that movie. And I mean, look, the teacher had crazy reactions from what I heard, but I love the teacher, and I think it was more out of being funny. And Whiplash is my favorite movie. Anyway, guys, I'm your boy Owen Shapiro. I'm out. See you guys.
Messi or Ronaldo? Mbappe? Guys, of course, the famous question, Messi or Ronaldo, I am picking Mbappe. Okay? Look, it's funny enough. I think Ronaldo is incredible. I think he is the greatest soccer superstar. I think that Messi is the greatest, statistical player ever in soccer. But who am I picking right now? Mbappe, but not only that, I personally think Mbappe's height has been better than Messi and Ronaldo's height. Okay? Did Messi and Ronaldo win the World Cup that early? Did Messi and Ronaldo have 3 goals in the final, almost pull up the comeback? Okay? I mean, think about it. Just think about it. Sure, Ronaldo, he's an incredible athlete. Well, probably the greatest athlete to play any sports ever. Okay? Messi, greatest statistics. I was watching all this stuff about how his statistics are incredible. I personally think that Messi played with an incredible team. And I also feel like Ronaldo played in all the top leagues and was incredible. Messi, he hasn't had the consistency that Ronaldo has had. I think Messi's coming back and being a better player now. But I do think that Mbappe has a height that Messi, Ronaldo have not hit. Who's the greatest ever? Yeah, Messi, sure. But I'm going, I personally think by the end of Mbappe's career, and I think in a few years, he will be unanimously, at least in my opinion, the GOAT. I have no hate for Messi or Ronaldo. I think Messi's incredible. I mean, that the guy from Argentina, he is incredible. I love Messi. I think Ronaldo, what an inspiration. He's such an inspirational dude. But I think that Mbappe is the best. Mbappe is the GOAT. I think that Mbappe is so fast. Not only that, I think he beat Messi in that first World Cup. Sure, he lost to Messi in the second one, right? But I do think that Mbappe's 3 goals that he had were incredible. They were insane. Okay? So it's hard for me not to say Mbappe. I think Messi is the GOAT, but I'm really look, Messi's the GOAT. Ronaldo is incredible. It's really tough for me not to say Mbappe. So everybody, please give me your opinions. I'm really excited for this, and more sports coming soon.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to talk about my review of the new Superman movie, Superman Legacy. Okay. I know there's been a lot of things said about this movie, some good, some bad, some amazing, some horrible. But I wanted to give my own personal opinion and tell you what Owen Shapiro on OSHAP Podcast thinks of this movie. Okay, so honestly, my opinion, it's similar to what other people say, but there's some things to point out. I did think they have the source down. I think they know what they're doing. I think the writing was not so good, actually, but on the other hand, I thought the acting was incredible. Also to know, James Gunn, he does a lot of that comical style, slapstick hilariousness. Okay. I mean, if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy and his other movie at DC, The Suicide Squad, you would know that this is James Gunn's style. So you got to be ready for that going into it. I wasn't really expecting it that much. I mean, I had heard people say a little bit of it. It wasn't till they were having some really deep emotional scenes, and then they were getting interrupted by ridiculous, crack up jokes that I thought didn't really relate to the story, and moments where they could have had intimate conversations with characters, like with Superman and Lois Lane, but there's a super fight going on in the background that he's not even able to be a part of, and it's just part of the universe, and he's just, once again, it doesn't really matter because that's just what it is. I mean, it's appealing to the Marvel fan base, okay? You got to know that. It's extremely Marvel-like, and I think that's what a lot of people kind of have an issue with. Once again, it stays true to the source, so I appreciate that. Nicholas Hoult, man, what an actor. Top 10 villainous characters since The Dark Knight, I'd say. I'd put him in my top 5 probably of his Lex Luthor. I thought it was just incredible. I thought his acting was incredible. Also given like some of the source material, once again, was given crack-ups. But you also have to realize that James Gunn said he wants every film to be its own style. So like the example, the clay man or whatever that is, the clay face, that one's going to be like Slither, like horror. So you got to be ready for that, okay? But on the other hand, I thought this Superman movie was really well to the source material. I thought that they have it on point. They know what they're doing. I just think while the shots were pretty composed and it was fitting that Wes Anderson, it's a bit far. It was fitting that sort of comical vibe. It certainly is an art house. I'd say it's the opposite of it. I thought the fights were cool. Someone had told me this. I didn't realize Superman isn't mostly in the film. I think he's the main narrative and theme, especially with the musical theme, but he's the main point of view, but I don't think he's the standout character. I think his acting was standout. I thought the guy was an incredible Superman. Same thing with Lois Lane. Incredible actress. And obviously topping it off with Nicholas Hoult. There was a new dude who was like really cool. I think it was like the Secret Justice League. I think something like that. Some dude who has these balls that they talk about that can shoot lasers. And Green Lantern, I mean, it should be pretty obvious is in it. But also, I did think that Superman was a good version. I thought, I like this version. I don't think it lifted up the Christopher Reeve, but I do appreciate what they were going for with it. You know, I think they got to mention more of how they feel about the character. People like to get into political stuff. I did not see it as much. I think if you say, well, if that's another country invading another, so that's clearly a reference to this part of the world. I don't see that, and I'm not a big. Political isn't my number one subject. Not only that, the political experts have been saying that's not the case at all, both sides. So I don't think someone can really go into it and say it just like that. On the other hand, I wanted to say that this movie is very campy, and they accept that. The interviews accept that. I think if you're living under a rock, you wouldn't know that Superman is campy in the originals, okay? But look, it's not to be rude, but he's always been campy. He's once again, he's a 30s comic book action hero, all right? Action, street style hero in the 30s. But not only that, they have him in the 60s and 70s, okay? Of course he's going to be campy, and I love that they're accepting it. I just think that they take it a bit far, where moments where they could have intimate moments and make things look calm, and, they have a composed scene, stuff set up, and it's just to cackle and things that I felt didn't really fit the tone. I don't think it destroyed the film. I don't think it made it bad. It was certainly good. I didn't think it was bad. Once again, if you look at the source material, this is Superman. This is Superman. This is original Superman. It's completely opposite of Zack Snyder's style. I don't think it's anywhere close to Christopher Nolan's. I mean, at least they both understood the source material, but I don't think it's anywhere close to Christopher Nolan's. And I think this Superman movie, very well made, maybe cut back on the ridiculous jokes, but that's part of his style. And I'm excited to see more of James Gunn's DCU. I'm going to give Superman Legacy an 8 out of 10.
MJ or LeBron? Kobe. So guys, I actually think that realistically Kobe Bryant is the GOAT. My favorite player ever is Michael Jordan. I think the greatest superstar ever is LeBron James in NBA. I think if anybody goes to pay for basketball tickets out of these players, they're always going to see LeBron. I mean, at least from the common knowledge of the general public. I actually think LeBron's ticket prices are the highest anyway, as it is. So, why do I think Kobe is the GOAT, even over MJ? I think there's a few categories. Like I said, the superstar category. There's the category of MJ, where I feel like I personally feel like MJ, I didn't feel it. I feel Kobe's a bit clutcher. That's what I think it is. I think Kobe's clutcher than MJ, and I also think Kobe is more independent than LeBron. It's nothing against LeBron. I think he's an incredible superstar athlete, greatest NBA athlete ever. I think that Jordan is the greatest modern day GOAT. I'm saying of the modern day, he is the GOAT. MJ is the GOAT of modern day. But I think if you pull away the pieces of these players, you're going to start to notice that Kobe, he didn't have much assistance most of his career. Not only that, I think he had to like carry teams to the finals like LeBron. And I feel like Kobe also, he's the clutchest. I think MJ is incredibly clutch. I think Kobe is just even more insane on it. I think that, once again, MJ is an incredibly clutch player. He's my favorite player ever. I believe I can fly. He makes me believe I can fly too. Okay, and I think Kobe is the GOAT. I think how many times did Kobe pull his team out of situations, and played at his hardest even when there were the biggest doubts and all of that. Clutchest player ever. That is why I think he's the GOAT. My top 5 ever is 1, Kobe, 2, Jordan, 3, Magic, 4, LeBron, and 5, Nikola Jokic. I could even talk about why I think Nikola Jokic is number 5. That has to do with he is an active player, so I think you got to give him higher, but once he retires, you got to treat him like all the other players in terms of standard. But, I mean, look, it's the modern day, right? That's why Jordan's the modern day GOAT. I think that Kobe is my GOAT. I think LeBron is the greatest successful achievements, accolades, everything in his career. I think LeBron has achieved absolutely everything. I don't think there's anything more he can achieve. I think that Jokic, I think he's, of active players, the greatest player ever out of the active players. I think Kobe is the GOAT, of course, for his clutchness out of all these players. And I think Magic, he's just an incredible teammate, incredible passer. I think he changed the play style of NBA basketball. I think all these players changed NBA basketball. I don't know if they changed it more than Magic Johnson. I do think, though, that Kobe is the GOAT, and I do think that all these players have special aspects to them. They're all talented. They're all hard workers. I don't think there's anything you can take away from any of these players. They all achieved their height. They all did the best for what they could do of their situation. So, of course, I could even go into my top 10 if you want me to. That's for another time. Once again, Kobe is the GOAT. I'm your boy, Owen Shapiro, and I'm out. See you guys. M. Night Shyamalan, the most controversial director working in Hollywood right now. M. Night Shyamalan, in my opinion, is by far one of the greatest directors who ever lived, and I'd say the best director of the 21st century. If you look at his films, some of them have been incredibly amazing, and some of them have been incredibly horrible. But I think that's what makes him such a great director, is that even though his films might be the best, the worst, I personally believe that he's the best filmmaker working today simply because he has the best written work and the passion he has for his work that he's able to translate into an event that everyone can go see, even if they like the film or don't like the film. I think, once again, The Sixth Sense, one of my favorite movies. Hot take, I actually think that The Happening is in my 100 best movies ever made. Ever. I have it over The Godfather. I have it over many other movies. All right, why? Because it's so well written. Whether you like his movies or not, they are extremely well written. Well, people may say, well, the dialogue is too upfront and unjust. No. He is stating the stakes of the film, and he's creating a cinematic setting. He is creating something with knowledge. He talks about how he has different
pieces of the puzzle. Like he has motifs. The guy, he just creates the most original stories. And whether I like them or not, whether I think they're great or not, I appreciate them. I mean, how many other directors today do we have where who else? Anybody who watches it, whether they like it or not, they go see it. I mean, I love his filmmaking. I love his style. I love everything about what makes him one of the top directors in Hollywood today, and why I believe what I believe. Once again, if you look at his films, The Happening, incredible film. The Sixth Sense, incredible film. I'd even say After Earth is not all that bad. People like to say all these things about it. It's not that bad of a movie. It's really not. I mean, I don't really understand. I think people try to find new reasons to hate things. Okay, people are trying to find every new reason to hate on the top filmmakers, directors. I personally think his films are some of the best, and what we need more in Hollywood. We need more filmmakers like M. Night Shyamalan, who, whether you like their films or not, you respect them and you're going to watch them anyway because you're interested to see what they put on the screen, whether you agree with it or not. We need that. Like I promised, here's a sneak peek to my next feature-length film, guys. Let's get right into this.
What's that, Garrett? You want something more challenging?
What is up, everybody? Holy smokes. What a day. So, I actually met Natalie Portman today. Insane. All right. Look, I didn't shake her hand or anything like that, but I'm not lying to you. I'm walking in New York, I'm an NYU student, right? So I stop, I'm like talking to my Nana. I have my headphones on, right? I'm not lying. This big black car van pulls up right in front of me. As soon as she took her first step out, I immediately knew it was Natalie Portman. I was shocked. I was genuinely shocked. Like, besides Star Wars, which I thought she was great in, she's an incredible actress. She's probably my favorite actress, at least working today. I mean, Black Swan, Academy Award. I just think she's an incredible actress, probably the best working actress today. And maybe, in my opinion, I'd say my favorite actress. I don't know, maybe ever. There's a lot of actresses, but I'd say my favorite actress. And my jaw dropped. And look, here's the thing. I don't like to make people feel uncomfortable. I had seen Spike Lee. I'd seen Miles Teller, Bob Odenkirk. You never want to be a creep to people. You never want to be a person who's getting in people's way, annoying people. So I immediately turned that into a smile. I said, "You're an incredible actress." She walked down the street to the other side and she smiled at me and nodded, and I smiled, and I went on my way to the gym, got back, walked past the crew, which were parked right under my dorm. I'm not even lying. Pretty insane. Yeah. What a day. Okay. So I can go into the different stories, but this is by far the top moment. This or Spike Lee. What the heck? Like, you don't expect like the number one wanted actress for her performances in the world right now today to walk right, like, to get out of their car or walk right down the street. Like, I'm not lying. She pulled up, got out, walked down the street. And, I said, "You're an incredible actress," because I never want to be a creep, right? Like with Saul Goodman, the guy who plays Saul Goodman, Bob Odenkirk, like, he had actually, example, I had walked by him and I stopped and my jaw dropped because the Better Call Saul is my favorite show ever. That and Breaking Bad. And so I said, "Sorry." And I said, and I looked back and I said, "You are an incredible actor." I said, "Keep up the great work." Because he is. You saw Bob Odenkirk is an incredible actor. I mean, this is why they're the top in their business. You got the Saul Goodmans, the Bob Odenkirks, the Spike Lees, the Natalie Portmans, Miles Teller. I really like Miles Teller too. Yeah. By the way, so Bob Odenkirk, he gave me a snap back, and then I said, obviously keep up the great work. Smiled, went on my way.
So then with Spike Lee, I was touring NYU, right? Because I already accepted, I already was going in, but I'm not even lying to you. I was in their film department because I go to their film school over the summer, and Spike Lee walks around, and my dad was there, and he said, "Spike Lee." I'm like, jaw drops, look at my dad, look back, and I'm like, this is when I knew, like, there's a lot of celebrities around here. You don't want to be the person who busts people's chops, okay? So what I did was, instead of going up to him, must have a picture. No. I smiled at him. I stayed there and, laid back, continued to smile. He was dabbing up the security guards, okay? And then he walked away, which was pretty cool because he works there. He's a teacher in the graduate department. So yeah, with Miles Teller, he walked by. I smiled at him. That was beforehand. I did not want to say hi to these celebrities. Not that I don't want to say hi to them. I'd love to have a conversation with all of them, but I don't want to ruin their day. A lot of these celebrities have imposter syndrome, have all these different things that they don't want to be disappointing, and a lot of pressure sometimes, at least almost all the time, I'm assuming, if you're in the role. And with Whiplash, Miles Teller, my father was with me once again. We visit each other now and then. He's in Pennsylvania, I'm in New York, and we see him. And once again, did a good job at hiding it, but I smiled. I smiled at him, and I just gave him a nice, good smile. And he walked by with his girlfriend at the time, the model, right? And he kept on walking. I think they were trying to stay low key, so I was really trying to hide it. But nothing wrong with giving him a good smile. And then he walked by, and I smiled at him as he, got past me. I'm like, "Dad, you know who that is, right?" He's like, "No, who'd you see?" I'm like, "That's Miles Teller." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, Whiplash, Top Gun Maverick. Like, that guy he is by far, I mean, he is an actor that's inspired me for his work. I mean, Whiplash, that's my favorite movie. Top Gun Maverick is an exciting movie too." He's like, "Look, you can say something to him." I'm like, I feel, I can't, I'm not in their position. I don't want to make them feel negative about it. I don't want them to make them feel overwhelmed. He's like, "No, you can just say I like your work, or say I liked your work in Whiplash." So, for now, I just tell people I like their work. So yeah. Anyway, I'm your boy Oshap. I'm out. See you guys.
What is up, everybody? It is Owen Shapiro. I have some crazy news. I got all the Superman movies live action ranked. Now I'm going to give some hot takes on these movies, and overall, I'm going to rank them in the end. So starting off, we got Superman Returns, which I believe is the best adaptation of Superman. I think Superman Returns gets it perfectly because, one, it's staying true to the original Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. And not only that, it has the concept, but it's able to actually tackle all the pieces correctly. And I really love the story. I really think that the actual build-up in the beginning is really cool. As a little kid, I loved the movie, but that's not everything. I thought the whole kryptonite thing in the end was kind of sick too. So get ready for this. Batman vs. Superman is the best Superman movie we have had since the original Superman. I personally believe that Batman vs. Superman is a representation of society today. It really, watch the movie, compare that to the society of the United States today, and you're going to realize it's almost exactly alike. I'm not going to say who is who, because that would be kind of political, and that's not what I'm on here to do. But Batman vs. Superman is the most relevant film today. I'd say Batman vs. Superman is the most relevant superhero movie today in 2025. I think 20 years from now, Batman vs. Superman is going to be considered a huge classic. Man of Steel, it's real example. The first half of the film was incredible. I loved it. There were some things that were iffy, like Superman stealing clothes, and he just didn't seem like Superman to me, but he's going for that real gritty look, and that's Zack Snyder. So you can't blame him. That's his adaptation. That's his point of view and perspective. He has the power. That's what he wants to make. And I agreed with the first part. I thought the whole thing with him falling into the stones or whatever they are, the skulls, was really cool. That was really, really cool. But once they start fighting, I thought the whole movie just drops off. I thought Zod, oh my gosh, Zod was insane. I'd say honestly, Zod is the best Superman villain we've had. He's probably the most powerful. He's probably the coolest. He's like, oh, I'm gonna get everything. He's like, oh. I'm like, yeah, that's a cool villain. It's like all the kids growing up around them were like, yeah, Zod would make a really cool villain in almost every movie. I think he'd be threatening in every single superhero movie. And I'm saying this out of an intimidation level. I think obviously Heath Ledger's Joker is the best superhero villain in any movie ever, I'd say. I don't know if you consider Darth Vader, that's science fiction, but that's up there. But comic book villains, Heath Ledger's Joker is the best villain ever. And I think on the other hand too, I do believe Zod is up there. I think Zod is really cool. Superman: The Quest for Peace. Yeah, Christopher Reeve directed it. Everyone was fired and brought back and all this stuff, and he had to end up directing it, and he didn't appreciate the movie, didn't like it. I could tell he did his best with it. Bad movie. I think we can all admit that. It was not a good movie. I thought the whole thing with the woman breathing in space, even though she's not a superhero and she's human, doesn't make sense. I thought that was so ridiculous. Superman, hot take though, Superman the character, Christopher Reeve Superman as the character is at his best in this film. I thought Christopher Reeve was incredible. I thought he put on his best acting as Superman more than any other movie in this film. I think he is not the problem. It's more of the horrendous situation that happened and the circumstances Reeve had to deal with that made him want to not play Superman any. Obviously, he's happy to be a part of it and stuff, but I would completely agree with the whole situation being horrendous, even though I was not the director. So that brings me to Superman 2. I loved this film as a little kid. I wish there was a little bit more onto what Superman was doing in his daily life. That was actually the good things about Superman 4. But look, I think Superman 2 is incredible. I think all the versions are incredible. Whole thing with Lois and Superman is great. Obviously, we know that the whole kiss thing, how does that work? But once again, I think the second act of the film, I think it's true to the story. I think it's true to what we know of Superman. I think it's true to how that would actually go. I think eventually Lois would find out that Clark Kent is Superman. I don't think, once again, there's nothing wrong with the film. It's actually one of my favorite movies. And I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's a warm movie that everyone can appreciate. The villains, while they're not completely bloody violent, they are violent. And I think this Superman 1 and Superman 2 was the birth of comic book movies. And I don't think we had a good number 1 and 2, maybe till the Dark Knight trilogy. Once again, I think great movie. I wish they would have kept it to number 3, which is where I'm going now. Superman 3. I watched it all the time as a kid because I was trying to figure out what was happening. It was so it just didn't make sense to me as a kid. And that was where I was like, I need to figure it out. And that's when I realized that Bizarro is horrifying. He is a completely horrifying villain who's in the film. He plays Bizarro. I was shell-shocked by that. I thought that was one of the terrifying moments in all the Superman movies and comic book movies. It just didn't fit in this film. I wish Bizarro was the main villain rather than, I don't know, all this stuff about people using computers that look, it doesn't make sense. Using video games with, computer rockets to explode Superman doesn't make sense at all because, one, it doesn't relate to kryptonite. Two, it doesn't make sense. You need code. You need things that will actually defeat him or have any sort of threat of defeating anything human. And the answer is you want to get some rockets to follow him around? Like, are you joking? The comedian stuff was kind of stupid to me, but I accepted it as laughing gags, okay? Because at least it was not as bad as the rest of the movie. I thought once again, the beginning as a kid made me laugh. I was like, haha, that's funny. I thought the moment with the pictures was good. Once again, the character was great. I didn't think it worked. The whole Bizarro thing fit in with the movie. I think the entire movie should have been Superman 3 versus Bizarro. But it became stuff with like trying to fight off explosion. Once again, so that brings me to the new Superman movie, Superman Legacy. I think this movie is kind of a slap in the face to all the DC fans of the past 20 years, the fans that really appreciate it and follow it. But it works because it's back to the old version. It's back to Superman Returns, original Superman, Christopher Reeve. I think it's similar to Smallville, which I appreciate. I actually like Smallville. Very good show. One of my favorite shows growing up as a kid. I just felt that this new Superman movie, as much as it was perfect, it was so ridiculous that he wasn't even in most of the film. He wasn't the main characters. I'll say this, other characters were really cool. But not only that, I felt the fights, as much as they were cool, they sort of started to distract me. And I felt that when they would make jokes, they took it to another level that was not funny to me anymore. I think some of the jokes, even after ones didn't work, were funny, but eventually it didn't work. But once again, all the acting was incredible. Everything in the movie was great. But the writing did not work for me. It's interesting. It's hard for me to find a movie where the actual movie works, but the writing doesn't. And I think Lex Luthor, top 5 comic book villains of the past 20 years. I think, this new Superman, top 5 superheroes of the past 20 years. Lois Lane was really cool. I thought the new perspectives on heroes, like the Secret Justice League or whatever they were, was good. I thought that was really cool. I wish they would have maybe made the writing a little bit more intelligent, but that's James Gunn's style, people being delinquents. So, that's not me saying his style's bad. He's made himself as a top director. So you cannot blame that. You can't blame someone for being able to make movies at a top level. I think I might have my own mini criticisms on it, which I will get to in another video of him versus Zack Snyder. But once again, good movie, 8 out of 10. And that brings me to the very first live-action Superman movie ever made, Superman. Okay? Oh my gosh, I've loved this movie since I was probably born. I used to walk around the school in elementary school with a Superman shirt with a cape attached to it until they forced me not to wear it anymore. I know, interesting, right? This was my first elementary school, not the second. The second was cool. But I always related to Christopher Reeve. I think Christopher Reeve created the superhero genre. Him and Richard Donner created the superhero genre in this movie. This was the foundation of the superhero genre. He founded it. I mean, look, you got to say there's Zorro, there's other movies that were cool too. But, I mean, they were similar to, like, I'd say, Kill Bill, which that was sick. But I do think that this Superman movie really established what a superhero movie was, how to make it big on the top level. Not only that, his smile while he waves and leaves, his passion for the role. I think as a kid, I thought the game plan of Lex Luthor trying to take over California did not make sense for me. Now I know that's just what he does. He does in Superman Returns. He's now doing it in this new Superman movie. He even tries to do it. I think he tries to do it in Batman vs. Superman. It's not really talked about much, but he did. Or in Zack Snyder's Justice League. He even tries to somewhat do it in Superman 2, but he just has Zod and other of them. He just teams up with them. I think they thought he was an idiot. But it was funny. It was cool. Once again, it's funny and cool, which is why the new Superman today works. I respect it, but the old Superman, Christopher Reeves, they really created what superhero movies are today. Even The Dark Knight, which I believe is the best superhero movie ever made, this Superman, I'd say, created it. So I honestly think that. So now I'm going to rank it. So I have Superman 4 at number 8, obviously. Superman 3, number 7, obviously. Man of Steel, number 6. Superman 5, sorry, not Superman 5, number 5. Superman 2 at number 5. Superman Returns, number 4. Superman Legacy, number 3. Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, number 2. Superman, the movie, number 1. That is it, guys. That is my list. I'm going to get to the whole Zack Snyder, James Gunn thing. I think it's interesting takes on both sides. I'm not against anybody as a director. I think both of them are incredible visions. I think both of them are incredible at what they do with their films. I think there's just a lot of drama. Anyway, guys, I'm your boy Oshap, Owen Shapiro. Oshap, I'm out. See you guys.